Yes, we can start whenever. I just started going. But when Zach comes, we'll just open the door for him, right?
What? What's he going to do?
Can you actually record like a short clip as we're talking and then send it to me, or like just post it on the story? And then one thing I do want to do too is before we're done, take like a photo of us, like just for the thumbnail. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying, Caleb?
You could just pull a still.
Yes, or at least pose something like that. Yeah, just to like we go, but like like I don't know what I don't know what we do.
Just
Put it into one.
Oh, really? Okay.
Wait.
Yeah, I think that'd be better. But still, maybe Caleb.
I don't think they're snoring yet. They're
But
not
can you
snoring yet,
can you
but-
still like take a just like maybe a picture on your iPhone of us that I can post later?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Like when we're talking and stuff.
Or
Yeah.
even after, just like, well, I don't know if I'll do this.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
True. I just want to do more like posts on my Rights and Real podcast channel like that, because I don't post enough like content,
Yeah.
normal stuff. All I post is short form videos.
Put stuff about like who you are.
Who I am.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Whom I am.
Whom that I am. We're rolling. What's up, you guys? Clap
Don't you
2
want
times.
us to clap? So yeah.
Clap 3 times.
I'll take it later.
Okay.
What is the thing that teachers usually do at school when they're like, clap once if you hear me or whatever, clap twice?
Clap once.
Oh,
Clap twice. Fingers up. We do that. I can train.
What's up, brother?
so welcome to the Rice and Real podcast, where real transformation crap. I messed that up. Where real talk empowers real change. Even since the first episode, I can't nail that.
And that's fine.
It's fun because it's authentic. It's organic.
It's
It's
righteous.
non-GMO. It's vegan.
It's real, bro.
It's real.
It's real.
Israel.
This is real. This is the wrong timing. Oh my gosh. But hey guys, welcome to the Right Real podcast. All right, that's going to be the intro for today. We got one of my favorite people on the pod in the world. It's Keaton. It's
on,
Baker. Keaton Baker right here.
Hey, everybody.
Pastor at CrossCity Christian Church, is in charge of the junior high department. Has been for how many years now?
A little over 8 years. It's been
8
crazy.
years?
Yeah.
I remember you telling me a long time ago, you started preaching and you started being a pastor for the junior high kids at a young age.
Yeah, I was 20 when I got hired.
And
which
I
is
remember
crazy.
one of the first things that you told me were like, yeah, everybody always didn't believe I was the young adults pastor because how young I was at the time.
Yeah, the reason why I have facial hair now is because when I would, when new students would get brought up to me and by their parents, and I'd introduce myself, hey, I'm the junior high ministry leader. They'd be like, okay, that's awesome. Like, who's in charge? And I was like, me. They're like, no, like not a leader. Who's the guy who runs the junior high ministry? I was like, me. They're like, not a high school student. It's me. So I grew facial hair. It just took me to I was like 25.
Yeah.
I looked like the Wolverine for many years because I just didn't grow facial hair at all. So
I never talked to you about this deeper, but now I'm curious. Why do you think they chose you at that time, at that age? Was it just like they saw like a lot of potential in you? I know that you were also volunteering quite a bit at the time as well.
Yeah, I like to think that they saw a lot of potential in me. Honestly, I had a lot of life change. I was the menace to society in the youth group for a couple of years. And then halfway through my senior year of high school, I just decided to 180, take control of my life. I had to be radically independent at a young age. When I was 17, my junior year of high school, I moved away, played hockey up in the state of Washington, in a town called Bremerton, and lived with a host family. And from the time I was 17, I had to be independent. And that year of my life, I did not live like I believed in God at all.
Yeah.
And I came home from that wanting a different future. And so my senior year, it took me several months to figure out like, well, what is the future that I want? And halfway through, when I was about to turn 18, I was like, all right, I'm going to get baptized. I'm going to change my friends. I'm going to like change what I do. And I really want to see what a life devoted to Christ looks like. So I began to take those steps. So I would say that when I was hired at the age of 20, it was, I had shown that I can take charge of my life. Maybe I had the right characteristics.
Yeah.
And the right motivation and independence, because I had been independent since I was young. So maybe it was a little bit of the right place at the right time as well, but it was, I like to think that people saw my character and also saw that I was humble enough to learn from them. And that's one of the things that I think kind of made me unique at that time of I wanted to work hard, but I also wanted to learn hard.
And I feel like you probably have to have that really good balance of both in order to have that growth mindset constantly. That's something 100%. I always see in you. You always are doing something. You're always constantly growing. And I always wonder like how you squeeze all this stuff in your schedule.
I took an ADHD test this weekend.
Did you really? Okay, so
like one of those ones on the internet though.
Oh, okay, internet. Okay,
so
okay.
Not
I thought
like
it
a
was
legitimate ADHD test, but the median score was a 9.5, and I got a 19 out of 20. So
I should take that too. I've speculated that but we've talked about it. We've talked about it on a podcast with Emmy too. But I'm trying to shift my mindset. I feel like when I started to think I have this thing and it's going to prevent me from doing the thing that other people do well, I feel like it put a mental block in my brain. And then it became the mental excuse for like a month or so for everything. I'm like, oh, well, I can't do this thing because I probably have ADHD. Or I can't, like, I obviously can't process this other thing because I probably have ADHD. And I haven't gotten like specifically diagnosed for it, but I'm almost taking a guess that I probably do have it. But it's debilitating to my mindset. So I started realizing, stop thinking about that. Just think about what you can control. What you can control is you got to like schedule stuff. You got to put stuff in your calendar. You got to put reminders on stuff. And I still forget, but I forget less when I do those things than when I don't. Right.
Yeah. For me, like, I mean, I don't think it's an excuse for anything. It just gives me more clarity on the way that I'm wired and kind of gives me more direction in like, hey, if I tested high in this, it probably means that I struggle in these areas. So I should probably discipline myself to get better in those areas.
That's a lot better way to think about it.
It helped explain more about why I am the way that I am. And, you know, the things, if I'm not naturally good at something, then I should probably work harder to become better at that.
Well, and a lot of people I think people think about it as a struggle when, in fact, it can be a superpower. Like people use this as a way to be hyper productive in specific areas and whatnot. So
yeah, I definitely tend to fixate on things. And like, I would say like I'm constantly awake thinking about things or just thinking things through, and I don't really rest well. So that's like the bane to my existence is I'll go and go and go and then crash out basically. And so like I've had to develop more skills in like slowing down. But I would also say that I also feel like you can fall into that trap very easily of you want to be a finished product. You want yourself to be a finished product. And I've just come to the realization, like, I'm just never going to be a finished product.
And
like,
accepting that, I've had to come to that same conclusion of I'm never going to be this ideal perfect version that I imagine myself to be. All I can do is continue to grow and get better every week, every month, and so on. And for me lately, it's been finding the balance between, you know, marriage and being a father and then being a provider, you know, and you're going through similar things besides the whole becoming a father.
Yeah, I'm not a dad yet.
Yeah, no. But we're doing the husband thing. And we're doing the you're a father. You got three.
I got some dogs. I got 3 dogs. And then I have like just a horde of junior high students that I'm not their dad, but
they keep you occupied.
Yeah, I'm the Gru to them being a minion. So
yeah, and it's
true. Yeah, I got some dogs.
Like I said earlier, it's fascinating to me because whenever I come across a problem, I'm like, you know, Keaton probably knows something about this, and I don't know. It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny how I feel like I can come to you not just about God, but just about like every other little thing.
Yeah.
So like you're just a super like knowledgeable, like helpful person.
It's because I want to be.
So
I want to help.
Is that your goal? Like, okay, I want to know as much as I can so I can just help everybody.
I mean, the people who truly made the difference in my life were just people who cared. Mm-hmm. And the Bible talks about how like we are supposed to let Jesus know by the way that we love. Mm-hmm. So if I'm knowledgeable in a bunch of areas, then I can love people in a more like multidimensional way. So like, yeah, if I'm great at, I was going to say hockey. I was never that great at hockey. But if I'm like good at photography, then one way I can love people is by teaching them photography.
Or by giving them photos at a good rate, like you did for me.
At a good rate. Yeah.
Like you did me for when I was doing my real estate.
Yeah.
And I don't like to your point, I didn't forget about that. I don't forget about a lot of those things. And I'm sure you figured that out yourself.
I wanted to see your success. Mm-hmm. And that's more important than money to me.
Right. Money's just money.
Yeah.
I got told that today by one of the coaches in my gym that I work at, because my car got wrecked today. It was my fault. I was being dumb and I hit somebody from the back and I tried to swipe. Yeah, it was bad. It was a bad situation. But I talked to one of the trainers in the gym, like, hey, do you know anybody? Because he's super into cars. I know nothing about cars. Yeah. I'm like the worst when it comes to that. I know men are supposed to know. I mean, society wise, they're supposed to know a lot about cars, but I've never been a car person. I've always just been like, I'll just take whatever car that works. And I drive a 2005 Toyota Corolla. Yeah, and even before that, I drove a 2002 Honda Accord. I've never had anything newer than the 2005 Corolla.
Dude, I just graduated past that because I got in a car crash 6 months ago.
See?
So it's a great time. I bought a car to learn how to work on cars. So I bought a 1990 Jeep Cherokee, and you really learn how to work on a car when you buy one of those.
Really? Well, the Jeep Cherokee is what?
It's a 1990.
So
older than me.
Older than me. Yeah. I was born 1999.
Let's go. It's 96.
96.
Let's go. 90s kid.
90s kid, barely.
Hey.
I always find it funny when people say they were born in the 2000s, because I'm like, oh my gosh, that sounds so young. Like you're like a child, but then it's like 2001.
Yeah.
And it's not even a big difference between 2001 to 1999.
Yep.
And it's still my age group. So.
It's just the two in front, man. It's a hard barrier to jump.
Yeah, it is a hard barrier. But like I said earlier, money is money. Mm-hmm. I was talking to my coach. The coach sent me to an auto shop because he knows all about cars. Yeah. He knows a bunch of people in the community who deal with cars. I sent me to this auto shop and I could get like the whole thing fixed for like $700. And I texted him like, hey, thank you for the referral to this place, by the way. Like, I don't know if I went anywhere else, they would have given me that kind of quote. And they were like, I'm awesome. That's awesome. I'm happy for you. At the end of the day, like $700 isn't a lot. Like money's just money. Mm-hmm. And what's more important is the people, and like how the impact you're making on people.
100%.
Like that. And it was like a good reminder from somebody who isn't even necessarily like a full-on Christian, but somebody who just wants good for people. And I always found that super helpful. So it's like you're reiterating that for me right now.
100%.
Is like money's just money at the end of the day, even though it feels like, especially on this earth, it's all I could think about, or all you can think about. You know what I mean? Because the things that are valuable on earth are a house or a car, is the things that you have, the decoration or whatever the case is. But none of that you take up to heaven with you.
Right.
So at what point do you say, okay, I'm just content and grateful for what I have right now?
Yeah.
And that's my biggest thing lately.
And part of it is, does money have power over you, or do you have power over money? Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that I learned at a young age. Somebody, when I was in my 20s and there was people at the church, like I went through the season of my life where I was just like blindly following people's advice. If multiple people told me to do the same thing and they were further along in life and had been a believer, it's like, all right, I'm just going to go do that. I don't even get the significance of this really like yet. I'm just going to go do it because all these people said that they wish that they would have when they were my age. So I took a Dave Ramsey class and learned what Dave Ramsey has to say about money. And it was really good for me at a young age. So I learned that if I managed my money well, then my money would work for me, not against me. And so I knew that if I wanted to go into ministry and all that stuff, well, I should probably be a better steward of money.
Especially
I'm just not going to make much.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say, especially as a minister or a pastor, usually they're known for biting the bullet financially in a sense. Not all pastors, because there are a lot of pastors who make the mega bucks.
Yeah, some of us have jets.
When is Keaton gonna get his private jet?
Oh man. Yeah.
The children's pastor now is-
Well, I think if as a pastor you get a private jet, you should at least take the kids, somewhere, where they haven't been.
Yeah, bro.
To where?
Yeah. Yeah. We'll have like an epic summer camp,
That's what I'm saying.
An epic summer camp to go to Biola University at CIY.
Yes.
Plug CIY, I'll fly into LAX. All of this we'll have tons of waivers and permission slips, and we'll live stream the whole thing. Yeah, human winter. It's be hard to land a plane up there though, unless you get one of those like the what?
If the lake's frozen.
Well, but they drain it though.
Imagine Cross City.
They probably drain it. But
Imagine
you can get one
a
of those
Cross City
water
jet.
That'd be crazy. That'd be crazy. Never gonna happen, but
Across the city. Jet.
dude,
Across the city, bro.
it's true.
That would be fun. No, it's fine, man. I just wish you had a mic so we could hear you. See? Just plug one in. Might as well.
What do you got to say, Gus?
So we're talking about money. We're talking about life. One thing that has always been something I've thought about is just, I guess, when it comes to money, I feel the love of money is not good. Right?
Yeah.
That's what the Bible says. But that doesn't mean God doesn't want you to not have money.
Yeah.
Right? So what's the balance between that?
What's the balance? The little snort.
I know, I guess Gus thought something about that.
Yeah. I would say, there's the parable of the servants and the talents. So there's, if I'm remembering the story correctly, there's 3 servants. They're all given a certain allotment of money. One of them goes and does really well with his master's money, earns his master more. One of them takes less risk with it, but still earns something. He still did something with what he was given. And then one of them just buries it and then goes and gets it to return it. And so with our money, like I see that as one of them is willing to be good and listen to what his master says about money. Is it can work for you, and he also understands it could work against you. But the servant who did nothing with it, he was too scared to do anything with it. He let that money and the fear of losing it have power over him. So as far as like our money goes, not that, you shouldn't be scared to lose your money, but it's like, do you have a biblical perspective of trying to stay out of debt, trying to really not biblical perspective of just not letting your money have power over who you are, the decisions that you make, and all of that good stuff. Dude, Zach just appears in my backyard. I'm so dead.
Did he just go through your backyard?
Dude, that's so funny.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
You can pause it real quick.
Yeah, it's unlocked.
Yeah, you can pause
What's up,
it.
Rad Dad?
What's up, Rad Dad?
Test. I didn't know if I knocked it. The dogs were.
Oh, I'm surprised that they're not freaking out right now.
I don't know. I guess walking through the back door is a secret way to not get them to react.
I guess. I'm going to take notes on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Did you like the backyard, though? Yeah. It's good.
It's brand spanking new.
Yeah, put that in myself right there. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So where should we start off from? Because you paused.
Just ask me the money question again.
Really again?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I'll just ask you the money question again.
Yeah.
All right. Did you already click record?
Yeah, also, this is delicious.
No, good.
I thought the coffee was great. I mean, it's still great. I'm still drinking it. But anyway, so so the Bible says that money is the love of money is the root of all evil.
Yeah.
But does that mean that money is not good for people, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, money is good. Money is a reality of the world that we live in. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have to have some form of relationship with money to pay our mortgage, pay our bills, buy food, all of that stuff. But it's, do we let our money have that power over us and control our decisions, control how we live our life, or do we have the power over the money? And do we have, if we have a biblical perspective of money, if we have a biblical perspective that kind of guides our life, then we will have power over our money. We understand that the power that money has is, money does play a role in accomplishing the things that we need to not only live our life, but it can play a role in furthering God's kingdom. So, I mean, the Bible talks a lot about giving our first 10% to the Lord. I don't really grow food, so I'm not going to like take that to the temple, but I do get paid in money. So I am going to give my first 10% to the church to further God's kingdom.
So a lot of people debate kind of that. I think you should tithe 10% for sure, right? But is that 150% biblical that you should always tithe 10%? Some people will argue like, oh, it's Old Testament, or it's this and that, or whatever the case is. But in your eyes, do you believe that like 10% is like the end all be all? Like you have to, or you're like basically stealing from God?
Yeah, I think 10% is the standard. Like that's something that had been established, but if you want to give more, then you can give more. If you don't want to sacrifice your money, then maybe your money has more power over you than you'd like to admit.
Maybe that's what really it is God's asking, hey, like, does this money have power over you?
Yeah.
Right? Because if you can't give 10% of what you make, you're probably holding on to other things. Even, you know, like there's been times where I wasn't tithing my 10%. And at the end of the day, like realizing that, hey, this isn't even my money in the first place. And like to your point, if I'm not giving what's already God's, what else am I not giving to God?
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I think that's an important point and a great way to put it.
Yeah. And I think people underestimate, like, you know, if God is supposed to be in every area of our life, shouldn't he also be in our finances and how we operate with them?
Yeah.
So
no, I definitely agree.
That's the easy one to forget. It's the one that you benefit the most immediately if you don't have that.
Yeah. And to our point, as far as like you run your own business, I run my own business.
Yeah.
Well, so you do photography.
Yeah, I do photo a on the side. It's a great time. I've been like kind of in the middle of what I want that to look like for the future. I was doing like lots of portraits, weddings, but like my passion is like landscape, and like I love to backpack, love to fish, love to do all that stuff. And so the summer, like I went on a 60-mile backpacking trip and just took my camera the whole way, lugged that thing all over the place and took pictures in the backcountry. But I actually, it was like 9 months ago, we had somebody come to the church. I'm forgetting what organization he was with, but he was talking about like using our talents and using what we have to serve the Lord. And something that I did in the past that I let die after COVID was I used to do a calendar every year to raise money to send kids to camp. So what I would do is I would make a standard calendar, put my photos on it, and I'd print it out and I'd sell those calendars, and I would keep half of it to pay for the production of the calendar, and then have like just enough money to then go out and get the pictures for the next one. And the other half went to send kids to camp, which is how I got saved. Somebody at the church, shout out Derek, he put on a car show, and that money sent me to camp as a kid multiple times. And so now this is kind of how I carry that on, because it really spurred life change in me. And so I want to start that back up again. So I'm going to be rolling that out in like next month.
It's funny because as you're talking about that, I was going to ask you, how do you glorify God in what you do? And that's a great way.
Yeah, 100%. And now, like, just a lot of life change for me. I got married a little over a year ago. We bought a house that we're in, puppies, just running around. And a lot of life change there. My wife got a job. And so now, like, photography isn't a means to an end. We we both have incomes. And so it's like, okay, like what is photography now? So I'd rather use it to like be a blessing to people. So there sometimes like, there are gigs that pop up that, find me that would be a blessing to people. And so I take those and, I don't know. I don't really want to talk about, it's just hard for me to talk about like when I want to bless people. So I've had a longtime student I think he's been a part of the ministry for 5 or 6 years. I knew that if they paid me for his senior photos, he's probably not going to go to winter camp. And so I just said that the payment for his senior photos coming up is if you get signed up for winter camp.
There you go.
I'd rather him be there than pay the photos. But they've been asking me for senior photos for like 4 years up in Yosemite. And so I do that a week from tomorrow.
Dang.
So I'm pumped for that. But
That's awesome.
I'd rather photography be that than a means to money.
So you said before that you didn't have a relationship with God at one point. Then you did. Did you always have this type of heart even when you didn't have that relationship with God, or was having that relationship with God what changed your heart?
I think I've sort of always been this way. I remember there was times when I was a kid. I mean, I played hockey, and you know, it's a rougher sport. And so there was times where I felt like people, like there's just people on the team that I needed to stand up for to other kids. And so I was generally the one who did that, even though sometimes it put a target on my back. I mean, I wouldn't say I was like the nicest kid in the world, but I was pretty well liked. I was a good kid to all the bad kids, but a bad kid to all the good kids. So I kind of like lived that weird purgatory life.
Well, in like superhero terms, isn't that like the anti-villain or the anti-hero?
Deadpool.
Yeah, you're the anti-hero. You're the Deadpool of the.
Yeah.
You're the Deadpool of the world.
Yeah, it was weird. But I'd say like I've always had a heart for other people. But when I became a believer and more so like a follower of Christ, then it really connected the dots for me that I didn't want to like that was more of like a responsibility. And it clarified why I should be doing those things and why I had that desire in my heart. So it gave me more clarity and I was able to connect to like, hey, this is why people like this. And if I'm supposed to be like the one who saved me, then this kind of makes sense why I want to do these things.
Yeah. I remember when I had Jake on the podcast not too long ago, I had asked him like what usually young adults coming into the college group, what usually their biggest trouble is.
Yeah.
Right. And usually for people who are right out of high school, going into college, becoming young adults, their biggest struggle is purpose.
Yeah.
And we talked a lot about that.
Yeah.
Do you think for people like kids in middle school, a lot of time, at least for me, if I'm trying to think back to when I was in middle school, probably be like my identity, like who I was. Like, what do you think is the biggest trouble that usually these middle school kids will go through, that maybe like the support that they need, or what is the biggest thing? Or I guess even just if you're somebody who wants to make a good impact on the kids in the generation, you know what I mean? Like, what do you think is the best way to do that?
Well, I mean, the best way to make an impact on somebody is to love. I mean, one of the things I've worked with like a lot of college students and preparing them to invest in other people's lives. Like that's the unique part about being a junior high pastor is you get to work with junior high students, but you also get to prepare people to become a leader. You get to prepare disciples who then go and make other disciples. And well, if you're really being an effective pastor, that's how you further the mission of, it's great that you can help people find that relationship with God, but how do you help people pursue that relationship with God? So I think the best way to do that is you never let somebody doubt that you care. And so part of that is being consistent. That's part of the reason why I've been the junior high pastor at the same church for 8 years. It's because I've wanted to be consistent for kids. If I preach that to volunteers, then I should probably follow that. I've had families where I'm on their like third or fourth kid, and like I've been all of their junior hires or all of their kids' junior high pastor, which is super cool. So you have to love well. But I also think that you have to model certain things for students. And in junior high, like, I'm going to be real with you. Like, you're not supposed to know who you are yet. If I was if I today was who I thought I would be in junior high, like, that'd be a train wreck. You know what I mean? Like, I thought I was going to play professional hockey. I met this is where junior high Keaton was at, loved playing hockey growing up. I went to one showcase in Vegas. Loved the buffets there. I loved it. That's like my one takeaway that I remember. But I also met the hockey coach from Princeton, and I was just like convinced, like, yeah, he spent time in Fresno, and I'm from Fresno, and I play hockey. So like, I keep my grades up. I'm going to Princeton.
So you wanted to go to Princeton and play hockey when you were in middle school?
I'm obviously Princeton material.
Yeah,
and,
I think so.
I just bleed it. And so like, but that's where I thought I was going to be as like an 8th grader. Like, I'm going to play hockey. I'm going to, work hard, and I'm going to go to Princeton.
Yeah.
And that's how we're going to do this.
Dang.
And my hopes of going to Princeton were like done like 3 weeks into freshman year.
when I was in middle school, all the way through high school, I wanted to be an actor. So my dream was to go to LA and do acting.
Yeah.
And still, even now, it's like a pipe dream, like something I still think about that I would one day want to do.
Yeah.
And already talked to my wife about it, and she's supportive of it and like wants me to go for it one day.
Yeah.
It's just, and it's weird how like life can kind of just change the trajectory of that. Like,
100%.
I would totally understand. Like, if I don't know.
Come here.
I don't know, with the mindset that I had at the time, if I could have handled going to LA and maybe God saved me from the trenches of Los Angeles. I mean, especially, if you told me in 2016, 2017, when I graduated, all the things that were going to happen in the future, politically and economically, or like socially, probably wouldn't have been the best move over a long period of time to go to a city like LA. Like, Fresno is, a part of California, but it's a part but separate. It's a totally different type of place here. So,
and I think most people, especially when you're in junior high, like, you're more concerned with what you're going to become rather than who you become. And like, that's where people are misguided. And that's what I try and teach junior high students is like, you want to be a firefighter, you want to be a baseball player, you want to be a streamer. That's a big one right now.
Right.
But it's like, who do you want to become? What qualities do you want to have? Because you have more power over that as a 12, 13, 14-year-old. And you have more power and have more control over that than you have over becoming your dream profession.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, people aren't going to, it's cool that you want to be a streamer. Like, for me, it's cool that I want to start a podcast, but people just don't follow you and start liking you just because you're doing something.
Yeah.
They follow you and like you because of you.
Yeah.
And what you do, and really what you do for them, like what you provide
100%.
or what value you give to them. So another thing for a lot of people, not even in middle school, go through this, but like, what are you going to give to others? And what value does that have? And what value does that give them?
And one of the biggest questions for junior high students that I hear all the time is, I just feel like nobody cares about me. And so as a junior high pastor, it's like, okay, that's one of the biggest insecurities that our kids have. I can only control so many things, but how do I do my best to never let them doubt that I care?
Yeah.
So I'm on campuses every week because kids come to the church. So if I can go to them, it shows that I care.
Why do you think that's a new thing in a lot of young people, that nobody cares? Or do you think that's something, like, I don't remember thinking nobody cared when I was in middle school, but do you think that's a trend, or do you think that's something that's like arisen over time?
It might not be a trend or what's new. I just feel like maybe that's this generation's kryptonite, I guess.
Well, I can even tell you like 19, 20, 21-year-olds who think nobody cares.
Yeah.
Right. So like,
100%.
it carries over for a long time. If you think nobody cares for a long period of time.
I think a lot of the challenge is because of social media.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a lot of comparison.
Yeah.
Going on. Even like with me, I compare myself to my peers that are doing social media.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah. And it's like, nobody cares about me because everybody's caring about somebody else. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's more of the conversation is, well, there's so many other people to care about who are way bigger, whether it's like way better looking, provide way more value, give way more content, do way more stuff. Why would this person even think to care about me?
Yeah. And like, that's one of the other things is like social media is like so tied into, social media is so tied into, please silence your cell phones. Please silence your cell phones.
Hello. Please silence your cell phones, especially. Welcome to. Anyways.
But I think that's, I mean, social media, it's been weird because I think I was saying this to some of this to my coworkers like in the last week or so. But this year, more than ever, there's the fewest number of junior high students with phones and access to social media than I've had in years past. And I think it's because parents are beginning to understand what the internet is, kind of how it operates and the effects it has on kids. So, which is cool. And there's like, I mean, there's some kids who have like unfettered access and, you know, every family's going to make that decision for themselves, or every family's just going to not make the decision and let it happen, which is their choice. But I knew even when I was younger that like social media played a big role in this age of kids' lives. So, I think it does have that standard of like, hey, like we need to be like the people that we see. It creates this like competition, a little bit like this comparison. So like, I mean, I think my account's like 7 or 8 years old now, but I made like the big trend that back in that day was Finstas, like fake Instagram accounts that you'd hide from your parents.
I was just thinking about that in my brain as you were saying that.
Still has, yeah. But so I back 7, 8 years ago, I created my fake Instagram account, my Finsta, to mock a Finsta, Beaten Caker 47. Follow me. But it started out mocking Finstas because all of our kids had them. And so, because it was just like, oh, I'm going to do like edgy stuff and just like kind of be bad. And so by like first few posts are like kind of mocking that. But then it became this other part of ministry of, okay, like I work with 5th to 8th graders, and how can I help them already feel comfortable with who I am before they meet me in person? Or how can their friends feel comfortable with me before I meet them in person? So I just do like stupid stuff and stuff that I think is funny and just kind of dumb. But I think even though it's lighthearted, I'm not afraid to be who I am. And I think the kids get to see that and not afraid to be who I am and a little bit weird. And so I post that stuff on social media, and I think it kind of breaks that barrier of this is what I'm supposed to be like. Yeah, it kind of breaks that ice of like, okay, he's a goober, but I can talk to him.
It uncrosses arms.
Yeah, 100% uncrosses arms. I mean, I've done some dumb stuff. I bought 55 hot dogs at Costco this weekend, and I recorded myself doing that, and it's just posted it, and kids think it's funny. I'm a double chunk chocolate cookie kind of guy, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're Costco
I'm definitely a chicken bake kind of guy. If you couldn't guess. Oh yeah, high protein, the cheese, the chicken. You know what it is. Come on now.
How many calories does that have?
Like 800, but like 45, 50 grams of protein in a chicken bake.
That's not terrible.
That's pretty
good.
Solid, like, pre-workout meal right there. You know what I'm saying? All the fats, carbs. Come on now.
Yeah.
What do you mean you feel sluggish?
I would feel sluggish if I had a chicken bake before I went out.
No, bro, because then you start getting that blood pumping. And you start using that glycogen that's stored in your muscle.
The fat.
The carbs. The carbs.
You could eat half before and half after.
See,
You could.
Little pre-workout and post-workout meal.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
post-workout meal.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like these things that just kind of break things down and make you more approachable.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's like that with all social media. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Because everybody's kind of sick of the front that people have, and they're more interested in the authenticity that you can offer.
100%. Like, I mean, I feel like I'm the epitome of this because I've got one Instagram account for my like photography stuff where like pretend to be an influencer, and like I don't really stick that close to that. But every once in a while I get like rewarded, like just this reward just spawns in, which is cool. Leads to some cool opportunities. And it's just, that one's just, hey, these are the pictures that I take and what I like to do. Sick. My other one is more of like, this is who I am. This is what I think is funny. This is how, like, one is like more relational, and the other one's like kind of more for a business purpose, I guess, technically. But just what I think is cool versus who I really am, I guess. Just doing stupid stuff and being a goon.
Yeah.
So do you have 3 total?
No, I got two. So
you only have the trap with the trap.
yeah, I've got my my photography one, Keaton Baker 47, and then Beaton Caker 47, and that's just my alter ego. That's when I'm
Your
feeling like a
alter
bad
ego.
boy. That's who I am, you know. Yeah, my trap account. So
That's too funny. I need to make a trap account. But here's the thing is, like I was saying earlier, because like I run a fitness, I'm trying to help people become fit, and through God, through faith, as well as what I'm trying to implement in the soon future. But even then, I should almost treat my regular profile like it's a Finsta. I should still be super authentic. And
100%.
And most of the time, like, Bible calls us to not have crude joking. So I shouldn't be saying anything wrong anyways that isn't worthy to post. Like, I shouldn't be posting something on my Finsta.
Right.
In a sense that I wouldn't post on my regular post outside of, job opportunities, career opportunities and stuff like that, and, sometimes you can say stuff that's out of line that could get you in trouble from the outside world. So I understand 100%. From that perspective.
yeah.
But at the end of the day, like,
oh, dude, I've definitely gotten in trouble because of my Beaton Caker posts from time to time.
really? From who? No, I mean, you don't have to disclose that.
Listen. It's my Finsta. When Beaton Caker's active, he's a bad boy. So, yeah. It's just, sometimes the just violent energy that just coursed through my veins just took over, and
My TikTok account got hacked.
Oh,
and
that's tough.
So it was, I grew up to like 10,000 followers on my TikTok.
That's kind of dope.
Yeah.
Please don't hack me.
It was kind of decent. And and then I made a new account, and I renamed it King Aldana the Fourth. That's gonna be my alter ego, King Aldana.
Hey, I was going for more like Emilio Aldana, but kind of energy.
But I think,
like Beaton Caker, but with his
but
name.
I think King I think King Aldana sounds cringy, so I thought it was really funny.
But if it's who you are, it's who you are.
King Aldana.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, that's my alter ego. So now I know exactly what to post on my Finsta.
Yeah, but it's like, be who you are, be funny, but like be relaxed.
Yeah.
People
love
get to look
others.
into your life, and sometimes it's like, I feel like one of the good things in ministry that I've done, and it's a balance, because sometimes it's like you have to have the right boundaries to do it, but it's like, I want to share who I am with the kids, but sometimes oversharing is more detrimental than it is good.
Yeah, that's what I feel.
So,
I feel like my parents, when they were raising me, I feel like they told me some stuff, but they didn't tell me a lot of stuff.
100%.
And I feel like that innocent mindset is actually more productive as you're going through age in a lot of cases. Yeah. Because sometimes it's better for your brain not to know. Like, it's better for you to know certain things don't exist rather than knowing those things do exist. Like, I feel my parents did a great job of raising me in a way to prevent me from, indulging myself in certain activities. Yeah. Did it stop me? No, because there was times where I'd be in middle school, like high school locker rooms, and you still get exposed to stupid stuff. Right. Right. But I would say by the time I graduated high school, I was a little, what's the word? Not gullible, but I didn't know a ton of stuff.
More innocent, naive.
Yeah. And so people would say certain terms, certain words, and I'd be like, what do you mean? Like, what does that mean? They're like, you don't know what that means? And I would be the dumb person. But in reality, it was just my parents doing a good job of raising me, because I don't need to know stuff that isn't productive. Like, at the end of the day, those terms or words or things that people were sharing, better for me not to know, 100%. Right? Like, it's sometimes the alcoholic, it would have been better if they just never knew the alcohol existed. Yeah. You know
but I mean? Sometimes that's like not people's reality. Like, I mean, I experienced more freedom than most kids, and it was like, I mean, I had the typical upbringing for people in Fresno Clovis, like, maybe more the Clovis like ideal upbringing, but like parents who loved each other. Grew up, played sports, went to church when it was convenient, and then, got older, My parents split up. One of my parents took off, and then it was like, I now can do whatever I want. You know, like it was just, there's so much going on that I had just untapped freedom. When I was a junior in high school, I lived 1,000 miles away from my family. Mm-hmm. So at the same time, it's like, the dogs are sawing logs right now.
Snoring? Are they all slumped? It's just,
they're all slumped. They're all slumped. But, you know, as a 16, 17-year-old, I lived 1,000 miles away from my family, and I had the ability to pretty much do whatever I wanted. And that was the year of my life where it was like, I thought I was pursuing my dream of, you know, playing hockey, using it to go to college. And then it was like, I don't think this is good for me. I don't think this is the future that I want. I don't think this is who I want to become. And so I just totally, like, I quit after that and began to be like, all right, like, who do I want to become? But it was, part of that was my eyes kind of had to be opened to the world. I guess maybe not had to be, but they were. And at some point, like, everyone has to face that here. We can't seclude ourselves, and we can't cut ourselves off from the world for forever. I mean, we're the ones that are supposed to be a light in the world, and you can be a light without the world, but that's not what we're told to do.
Yeah. We're meant to be, salt of the earth.
Yeah.
The Bible says. And so we have to stand out like a sore thumb in a sense. Like that's what we're called to do as Christians. And I realized that. I've realized that for a really long time. And once I found peace with the fact that I'm supposed to stand out, I'm supposed to go, quote unquote, against the grain. And usually the thing that most people think is right, probably like the wrong thing in a morality sense, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, I feel like doing this, but in reality, the Bible calls you to probably do the opposite thing. And that's the thing that I need to do. And that's what's going to make me stand out like a sore thumb. For me, like we talked about alcohol a little bit ago. Yeah. I just avoid alcohol completely. My parents never drank alcohol. Yeah. All I saw was, especially in aunts and uncles in my life, alcohol destroy their lives. And in my eyes, it just wasn't productive. And anytime I did try it without consent, you know what I mean? Or without advisory or, you know what I mean? Yeah. In the wrong context. It was like, why did I even do that? That was stupid. Like, and it wasn't, it's nasty. For me, it's nasty. And like, I'm not saying if you do drink, you're terrible. This is just my perspective. Yeah. And I think as a Christian, it speaks a testament and kind of can open up conversation with people where they're like, oh, why aren't you drinking? You know what I mean? Yeah. And now I can bring it up. Oh, it's not that I think it's bad. It's just, this is my perspective.
But isn't that the same thing with anything? Because if you go back to earlier in our conversation, we talked about how if we treat our finances different, in a godly perspective, then that's how we can live differently as well. Same thing with alcohol. Or if you let alcohol have more power over you than you have over it, isn't it the same thing as how God tells us to live with money?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. I think sometimes we can, as Christians, we need to make those decisions to stand out. And we don't have to fit in with everybody else. And I think there's that pressure, just like socially, where you're like, well, everybody else is saying this is okay, or well, everybody else is saying this and that. But then go read the word. What does God say? Yeah. You know, what do you say, or what do your friends say based on their lens of life? What does God say? Because the Bible is the word is God, and we know that it's truth, right?
100%. And I also think it's unique in, like, we're supposed to live differently, but if we're only doing these things so that we stand out, I think we've also missed the point. We're doing like a student takeover this weekend, and one of our students that I'm helping write the message, she is going to be speaking on Daniel in the lion's den, and how, you know, Daniel didn't give in to that pressure, and Daniel was more about preserving his relationship with God and how his relationship with God didn't change, and staying devoted to him, than it was about him standing out in front of everybody else. So, you know, a part of it is like, hey, am I living a different way just so I stand out, or am I living a different way because of my faith in God? And like, that's also, you have to have power over yourself. You have to have power over your own motivations.
Yeah. Well, sometimes
that's tough
in my eyes. I think people should have more abstinence over moderation.
Oh, 100%.
Right? So you have to understand spiritually and physically, like this can go with a lot of things. Like something that I've learned with my clients is, some people, they can handle moderation, but some people, they need to hear, just cut that out. Just no moderation.
Yeah.
Right. And same thing in the spiritual sense of some people need to go to church every week. Like, right. Some people really do genuinely need to, right. Multiple, some people need to go. Right. So like, and some people, okay, they do all the right things throughout the week. I still think that the church community is so important. You do need to go every week, but that's just like a small example, but there's so many ways you can take that in a spiritual sense of like, sometimes it's just better to just completely stay away from that sin. Don't even try to have moderation with it, especially if you know there's a past in that. Like I use alcohol, but marijuana, like anything that's like detrimental to somebody's well-being or even just ability to be productive on a consistent basis. Cause God calls us to be productive. Like God says, idle hands is the devil's workshop. So we need to be productive. We need to be doing stuff. And if there's anything that slows us down to any extent, that's not what God is calling us. God's not calling us to be slow. You know what I mean? God is calling us to process things at a fast pace.
100%.
You know what I mean?
For the most part, I mean, there is things that I think he wants us to slow down on. And like, that's what I struggle with. Like, so we started out the conversation with like, like, I scored high on an ADHD test. Like that explains a lot about who I am, but that doesn't mean like, it means I don't naturally slow down well. Doesn't mean that I don't need to do that. So for me, like when I'm slowing down, I generally have an action paired with that. And like, that's what helps me slow down. So for most people, slowing down doesn't mean going and backpacking like 60 miles in 6 days. And really most of that was in 4 of those 6 days. But that was like some of the most relaxing slowed down time that I had. I think I had cell reception for an hour out of like 5.5 of those 6 days. And I just got to slow down. I'd walk every day. I listened to some podcasts and stuff, but it was just like this week of slowing down, but I had a task. I had to get to the next spot. And so for me,
that is your slow down.
That is my slowing down because I just walk all day.
But do you think for someone who is, I need to slow down, a lot of people, when they hear that, they think I'm going to sit here and watch a Netflix show and like be gluttonous with all the junk food in my cabinet. Like, you know what I mean?
I think it's okay for a time, but like for me, this worked because I had an action, but I was still thinking and reflecting and all that stuff without a distraction. Netflix could be like, I mean, there's been seasons where I've been stressed out about just tons of stuff. And I went back, I reverted to listening to a book that I read in like 6th grade because I read the first one, then I read the second one. Aragon? Dude. Yeah, bro. Yeah. So, yeah, dude. Little magic.
They came out with a Netflix series on it or what?
No. I ended up listening to the audiobook. And like for the season, I was just so like stressed that like I just wanted to like detach and just like literally get my mind off stuff. So I listened to like all 4 books. And I did it so fast that it was just like probably not the most healthy thing.
Yeah.
But if I had continued to do that and stayed in that, like that's not good. So like there's times where I think it's good. Like we detach and we watch a Netflix show, but if we stay in that, how good is that? If I was backpacking and I was walking, like, yeah, I reflect, but if I stay in that forever, what good is that?
Right. Well, because if you stay in that forever, you're taking time away from your family, your marriage, and that's not productive.
No.
There's conversations like I've had with my wife, and I've just been like, hey, at the end of the day, you're my priority. Yeah. This family's my priority. And there's other things I'm interested in, but if I need to do this or do that more or et cetera, like let's have that conversation. And
it's funny that you mentioned that because I was supposed to be gone 8 days on that trip. And my dad and I ended up getting the runs on day 4. And so we were like 15 miles from a toilet and we didn't eat for like 2 days, the last 2 days that we were there. So I think we ended up walking like 25 to 30 miles, somewhere in that range. We're like barely ate. making frequent rest stops. That's a good way to say it. And we came out 2 days early, and I got to spend time with my mother-in-law and and her sister. And that was some of the most like awesome time that I've gotten to spend with them. And like, I'm glad that I left early.
Yeah.
And so it was like, part of that was because I got time to slow down. And then it was like, yeah, I would kind of rather, get out of here, even though I love to do that stuff. It was just, there's certain times where it's beneficial and certain times where it's like, this might be too much.
Right. And it's about anything in excess is usually not the best for you. Just like, hey, I don't know. There's some good foods out there. Like if you have, you can have an excess you can have an excess in, fruit smoothies, even though they're healthy for you, you can still have it in excess. But I will say like, cause I was going to say that like you can have like junk food here and there, but I don't know. The more I start to think about it, the more I'm like, a lot of this junk food really just, God does not call you to eat junk food. I don't know. Like nerds, like part, like half of it is like literally made in a lab. And I'm like, God didn't make that. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Conversation. It's hard. I don't know. You know what I mean?
That's facts. That's facts.
Because I'm telling you, those gummy clusters hit.
They do.
But sometimes when I have
parasite dye, it's natural though.
But when I have one,
no, it's not Red 40. They mash up parasites, and then they like grind it up into a powder and like that. I mean, I'm not a scientist, but like, I saw it on TikTok, so like, it's true.
Yeah, if it's on TikTok, it's true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's on the internet. Yeah. But so it's not Red 40, so you're still going to be sane, but it is ground up parasites. So, yeah.
That's
definitely made in the lab.
That's what gummy clusters are made out of?
That's what makes them red. Yeah. Unless you get the blue ones. I don't know if there's blue parasites, but yeah.
That's insane. See, so this is to my point. Yeah. I don't know if God calls you to eat gummy clusters, but hey, I still eat them sometimes, so I'm guilty as charged. I need to work on that. I feel anything that you can just become gluttonous about and overconsume is usually going to be bad for you. It's usually going to be a huge sin or something you need to handle with everything we're talking about.
Yeah, do you have more power over what's in front of you, or does it have more power over you? Mm-hmm. But on the same side of that, if you're doing that because you worship yourself or your own life, like you've missed the point. We have power over the world that we live in because God is in us, and we are not of this world. So if we're truly living out that calling, we have to have power over the things around us while still bowing down to the one who made us. Yeah. And like that's one of the hard parts.
Every knee shall bow, every tongue will confess.
Yeah.
And I believe in that fully.
Yeah.
So what's like one area in your life where you feel like you kind of said slowing down is one of your biggest struggles.
That's like the biggest one. Yeah,
but what's 100%. Like another thing that you feel like personally, like, because you're a pastor, right? You do have to be an example. But part of being an example, like a lot of the people in the Bible were examples, are like messing up. You know what I mean? Like nobody's 100%. Perfect, right? And so...
I mean, this is gonna be really ironic that I'm on like a fitness kind of podcast, but like that. There's times where like I sign myself up for so much stuff that like I don't. It's easy for me to go stay in shape and then go backpack all summer and then like put on my winter coat per se. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and then
hibernation.
I shed my winter coat in the summer when I just like go backpack, and I've tried to backpack 100 miles over summer, but when it's not summertime, like. I kind of don't do much. And so that's, I'm prepping. I have to have, that fat built up to then burn it off, which on that trip, I lost like 15 pounds in like 4 days or something, like 5 days. Cause we didn't eat anything and we were just walking with 50 pounds for forever. But that probably wasn't the most healthy decision for my body. But granted, I didn't have a choice cause I was when we got sick, I was at the furthest point from my car. So it was like either stay there and call a helicopter or walk out. But at the same time, it's like, could I be more healthy? Could I have more power over my own laziness physically? Mm-hmm. Sometimes like that's the hard part for me is like, I don't slow down. So like, I'm so mentally exhausted that I let that be the barrier to not get better physically. Mm-hmm. And so that's where like my biggest struggle is like, I don't always spend enough time to take that break. And then I'm just like, I'm spent, but my body isn't like, I'm not training my body. My mind has been trained. My spirit has been trained, but I've like neglected that physical body a little bit.
Yeah. And this is something that I tell a lot of people. I think most individuals will think you have to train however many times per week. Usually the minimum people like to train is like 4. Say like 4 to 6 times a week. It's a lot.
Yeah.
You know, when you think about how many hours that is in a week, that's like 4 to 6 times. That's 4 to 6 hours. And really a lot of the time people usually stay longer.
Right.
Usually do cardio after, whatever the case is. That's why I've always appreciated more of like a minimalist approach. Yeah. Like for the first month when my wife, we had the baby, right? And I was home with her and we're adjusting and we're helping each other out. I only worked out 3 times a week that whole month, you know, like that was it. And even sometimes twice, but I adjusted my split and I adjusted my workout routine to where I was hitting all my body parts in one day each time I went. So each time was a full body workout, and it was something that I enjoyed. I made sure it was a routine that I enjoyed, because sometimes we force ourselves to do routines that we don't enjoy. And now you're kind of sucking yourself in this hole of, well, I need to do this thing because it's hard and it needs to be done so I can grow discipline. But in reality, you're not even growing your discipline because you just continue to like force yourself to do something you just don't want to do. And you have to like kind of slowly get yourself into that routine. And at the end of the day, like do the thing you enjoy, make it easier on yourself by, you know, making it like, whether it's like adding something in the garage to make it more accessible, right? Or whether it's going to the gym that's across the street, not 30 minutes away, or whatever the case is, and just figuring out a way to squeeze it in too, even if you're at work. Like maybe like when every time you have to go to the rest spot, you you know, you do 20 squats or whatever the case is, you know what I mean? And so it's really about just squeezing it into your life, because, you know, working out shouldn't be your priority. Like there's so much more to live for in life. And that's something I'm realizing as I get older. Like looking at my daughter, one of the first questions I asked myself was, do I go to the gym today or do I hang out with my daughter for an hour? And like every time I'm going to choose my daughter, every single time. And how do I expect the clients that I get or anybody else to make the decision to go work when I can't even make that decision? You know, I don't want to spend an hour at the gym when I could be spending that with my daughter. You know what I mean? And so now it's about trying to change the message.
But it's a balance.
Change the messaging and the perspective in my head of like, well, is my daughter getting the absolute best version of me if I'm not going to the gym at least 3 times a week and taking care of my body? Is she getting the lethargic version of me? You know, you see like a lot of, at least I do, fathers, mothers who, you know, lose all this weight, get fit, not because, not for them, but because they want to live for their family. You know what I mean? And I think that's part of like, I want to be healthy enough. I want to continue to, you know, backpack and stuff, even when I'm older. I know I need to be better about that now. One of the hardest parts for me though, is when I do work out, sometimes I push myself. Like, I mean, for my whole life when I've worked out, my hockey coach would call me Upchuck all the time because like we had a break built into the workout regiment that I did, that I would go puke and I just go right back to working out. And so now it's like, do I just work so hard that I just puke? Like part of it is like dialing it back to where like, I should probably, you know, not be working out hard enough to where I puke every time. I always say less is more. Do the least to elicit the most amount of progress. Like, why would you work 40 hours when you can work 20 hours and get the same pay? You know,
well, that's what I was trying to do.
Get the same return. But you know, but I think that's obviously just an adjustment of, okay, like I don't need to go as hard as I think I need to go, because at that point, like I'll always get new clients and I take them through the workout, their first workout, and they're like, "That's it." I'm like, "Yeah, that's it." And they're like, "Oh, so like I feel like every other workout I've done, I'll like throw up." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's not the goal. That's not the goal." Like I've never, my opinion, but if you're going to a trainer and then they celebrate the fact that you puked, that's no for me at least, because then they're not progressing you the proper way.
I mean, it definitely discourages me from like sticking with it, because I just know I'm gonna feel like garbage.
Like I've had so many clients who've gone to workouts, oh yeah, I got puked, yay. And it's like some people can get caught up in that mindset, but what does it sound like?
It's just like
No, don't say it. Then never mind. I say it after. Okay, cool. Yeah, you know, so I'll get a lot of clients who are like, oh, I puked, like, or I puked on my last workout.
Still recording, right?
Okay. Dude,
like, oh my gosh,
his face scared me so much. But yeah, and it's like, no, you don't need to go that hard. Like, we need to coax ourselves into that, and eventually you will be going very hard. We will be pushing to failure. We'll be pushing past failure at times. But right now, you need to progress in a specific way where it's not detrimental, because a lot of the time, if I brought you in and I made you puke the first day, your body's not even going to be recovered by the time you come back to me. And now we're putting ourselves on just like a spinning, almost like a rat, kind of like spinning on those, what are they called? Little wheels that they run on, a hamster wheel, right? Like you're a hamster on a hamster wheel. Like you keep spinning yourself and you're never progressing, because your body's still recovering, and then you go back again, your body's still recovering. And it's just, over time, it's just not proper, you know, it's just not the right way to do things. So less is more. And your body, like studies have came out, like science has showed, your body really doesn't need as much as people say that it needs, which is really interesting. You know what I mean? And so, that's one thing that I've really resonated with. Right. And I have to, because there's a lot more important things in life to attend to than working out. And as much as I love fitness and I love working out, I love people more. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, same. And I love interaction and humans, and
I'm in the people business, and like, I don't know, part of, I guess it's like that area is like probably the area that I'm like the most insecure about. But I also understand that if I want to love people well and have the energy to do so, and also like want to live a life as long as possible so that I can follow, I mean, whatever's in my control, at least. Like I need to be probably more healthy in those areas. And so that's just one of the things where like, I'm insecure about it, but if I'm going to love people well, like I better love people even with my insecurities. So, it's just, I don't know, not always the easiest thing for me to talk about, but, you don't want to shy away from the easy things. Where in the people business, sometimes people learn the most from you when you're the most vulnerable from them.
I think one of my biggest fears, not to talk about it so late into the pod, but like, I feel like I'm so fearful of, you know, like people, I guess failing, like that's, and people looking at me as a failure, like, you know, and I mean, partially that's a lot of things in between, you know, maybe I care too much about what people think of me. Which I think it's inherent, like for us as people, God, the way God made us,
want to be successful.
Well, to think about other people, right, and what they might think, you know, reputation, you know, like, and I feel like that is a natural thing that people think, and so trying to find that balance between, okay, I need to understand that I can only go so far. Like people, not everybody's gonna like me. Right. Now everybody's going to enjoy what I put out. As much as I want to please everybody, I can't please everybody. I need to find the people that resonate with me most, you know, and a lot of those people are more likely than not going to be Christians who believe similar.
A few years ago, I started a failed business, and the reason why like I didn't pursue it was I think that there's times in your life where, I mean, we're imperfect people. So I think like it's inevitable that we're going to fail at something. And I tend to hyperfixate on things. And so I was at this point where I was working 24/7, and I had to choose between school. I was in school for ministry, and I was leading a ministry, and I was trying to start this other business, Love Coffee. And so it was starting like this coffee business, and it was taking up a lot of my time. So I had to choose which one of those three areas I wanted to fail, because I feel like if I didn't choose, I would either fail at all three, or that selection would be made for me. And so I choose to pursue finishing school and staying in ministry.
If you ask me, what do you want to do with your life? I could tell you like 10 different things. I want to do like videos. I want to do podcasts. I want to do fitness. I want to do streaming. I want to do, like, I always think I want to do so many things. And you probably run into the same issue of
100%.
Like, I want to be a photographer. Well, I want to be a pastor. Well, I want to be, and then how much time do you really have to do all those things? And at some point we get to the age where,
what are the things that I'm not willing to fail at? And like you've said, what I've heard you say is you want to be successful in your profession, but you also don't want to be a failure to your family. That's an area of your life that you don't want to fail at.
Right.
In that same way, like after I, graduated college, even though it took me like 9 years, didn't fail. But I also, when I graduated, I didn't want to fail my family. And so what am I okay with failing at? And I don't want to fail in the way that I love other people to show them who Christ is. I don't want to fail my family. I don't want to fail, my family is my marriage, me and my wife. And I've got brothers and my dad, and I don't want to fail them either.
Yeah.
But it's like, what are your number one priorities? I don't want to be a failure there. But what am I okay with not being great at? And, God above all, my personal relationship with God, my relationship with my wife, ministry, and then whatever else it is.
Yeah. I think, for me, it's always going to be God. And then, of course, you have to have God at the forefront. And then it's going to be family. And then it's going to be business. Yeah. And then at the very end, it'll be hobbies and stuff that, I invest a little bit of time into, but I can't put too much weight into it.
Yeah. So it's with that, where are you willing to spend your time so that you are the best follower, you are the best husband, you are the best father. And, you kind of go from there. How do I become the best person that I can possibly be? And that's the hardest thing is I just keep going back to the question. I said it earlier with the junior high kids of, it's what do they want to become, and they negate who they want to become. But at the end of the day, who you become is what determines what you become. Yeah,
I agree. And not just junior high kids struggle with that, but everybody. A lot of people even then. But it's crazy how that issue can go from just junior high, and it can go, issues can last for the rest of your life if you let them be issues.
Will last for the rest of your life. There will be an issue.
My dad always told me, it's not if it happens, it's when it happens. You know what I mean? So, and with that, be prepared and love Jesus, love people, and live life not for yourself, but for God and for others. So live, laugh, love. And with that, all the pups and the Righteous and Real podcast say peace out. Wait, before I let you go, Keaton.
Yeah.
Keaton, what's your app, man? Where can we find you on the socials?
Yeah, if you want to follow me on my photography account, it's Keaton Baker 47, Keaton Baker 47. If you want to follow my Finsta, it's Beaton Caker 47, Beaton Kaker 47.
And you know what? If you want to go on the CrossCity, go to the CrossCity socials as well. Follow CrossCity. If you're looking for a church,
Fresno, baby.
Come out. We got some college groups. We got some
Clovis Hills. Yeah, Clovis Hills.
College groups. We're talking about CrossCity, Caleb. We're talking about CrossCity.
My wife's from Tulsa. She didn't go to Transformation though. Yeah.
So stay righteous, stay real. We out. Peace. I know, true. Wait, let's do like one of those faces. Yeah. What's the thumbnail?
Should I get the thumbnail too?
You should. Yeah, you should.